Game Breaker TV.
You are watching the first and longest running new media broadcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Welcome to Game Breakers The Republic. You will never need to listen to any other Old Republic podcast ever again. Oh, who were they kidding? They're just a bunch of nerds geeking out about the Old Republic on the internet. But here's your host, back from fixing the units on the South Ridge by midday. It's Larry Everett.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Everett, and you are watching the 198th episode of The Republic, the Star Wars The Old Republic show here on Game Breaker. And today we are recording on Thursday, January 29th. And today's guests, I've got three of them today. From the Utini Cats, first off, we have Redna, who's been on the show many times before. How's it going?
Howdy doody, it's going great.
And we also have from Carillion Run Radio, Heather. How are you? Are you recovered from PAX?
Oh, yeah. I was sick before PAX, thank God, so I probably spread the disease. Yeah, I'm good now. And
last but not least, from her blog, Zamzam Says, this is Rachel. How's it going, Rachel?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Hi, everyone.
This is her first time on the show. She,
yes.
If you have not checked out her blog, you go to zamzamsays.wordpress.com. Check that out. She has some really good things to say about Star Wars: The Old Republic. But today, what are we talking about today? Obviously, we are talking about the producer's letter. We also have some things that they didn't talk about in the producer's letter we want to talk about, and then also we have the from the exploits, they've divvied out the punishments apparently, and we're going to talk about those today as well.
Yeah.
Do you think they're done?
No, well, we can get to that. We can get to that in a minute when we get to that part. But first, I do want to talk about this this roadmap letter that Bruce McLean laid out. Bruce McLean, I think that's how you say his name, or McLean, whatever. It was read to us at PAX South. It wasn't. We didn't actually see it, so this isn't on the site yet. And so anything that we're talking about today, just to clarify, can possibly change, but it probably won't change a whole lot. But they did preface that as they were reading it. Hey, this might change a little bit. And you can go to, actually, if you go to Massively, I dictated it all out on the post there. And but the first thing I want to talk about is this, where he said, let me go to my quotes here. He said, 3 years ago, we set out to deliver a product that delivered the best of two worlds, the immersive story experience of a single-player RPG and the vast array of systems and social connections from an online multiplayer game. Since launch, we have mainly focused on the latter, adding galactic strongholds, achievements, legacy perks, reputation tracks, and galactic starfighter. But with the success of the Shadow of Revan expansion, we think it's time to return to our roots and what truly makes our game unique: story. Now, really, I guess the first question that I have is it story that makes this game unique? Is he right in saying story is what separates this game from everything else? Let's throw it to Heather. What do you think about that? Is it?
I think so. There was an article recently on Massively about story and MMOs, and for some reason they didn't talk about Star Wars: The Old Republic, and this is the MMO for stories. And so I think it really sets it apart for people that like to play MMOs. If you like story, it really sets the game apart. So I'm surprised and kind of shocked that that article didn't include SWTOR talking about stories and MMOs.
That's really true.
You got to check on that, Larry.
I know. I think the Master of the guys got a little bit scolded whenever that happened. But what do you think, Red? Is that what sets this game apart for you? Is it story, or is there something else that kind of makes this game unique besides lightsabers?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things about this game that make it better than others, but yeah, I mean, it's the most doesn't it still have the Guinness Book of World Record for the most voiceovers in an entire game? I mean, it's definitely immersive story that you can fully engage in with, light side, dark side tales, and I think it's definitely one of its strengths and is definitely one of the most noticeable aspects that makes it quite different from other MMOs. I think that shortchanges a lot of the very valuable things that this game has to offer. Otherwise, though.
Well, I mean, that's an acceptable answer. I mean, is this something that I know obviously it does have story. I mean, it is a BioWare game, right? I mean, we expect good story, but I think that there's other things that this game has to offer, and is this focus on story? Do you think it's a good thing? Let me throw that one to Heather. Rachel. What do you think that's a viable? Do you think it's good for them to focus on story? I guess is the question.
I don't think so. Like, it is their main draw card, obviously, but I would like to see them. They've got other parts of the game we play, like PvP, like more PvP content.
Right.
I feel so sad for people.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Heather.
Oh, nothing. Just commenting. I feel sad for PvP because we have heard nothing.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're actually going to talk about that in a little bit, but I don't know. I do think it's personally, and I'll just expound here a little bit. I do think that it's okay for them to focus on story because it is a major draw of the game. And it does obviously bring people in. I mean, Shadow of Revan brought a whole bunch of different new people into the game, and old people returning to the game, that kind of thing. So I think that is definitely important. But just as they were kind of said at the very beginning, whenever they were making the game, that there's 4 pillars that they want to focus on, and they kind of need to focus on each one of those pillars equally. If they don't, then the table kind of collapses a little bit, and I think that's. So as long as they remain in balance with everything else, then I think we're good.
I think there's actually something else to be said. Well, this is a total anecdotal story, but one of the things that I've been quite excited about with the post 3.0 is, as I've been streaming, the number of people that have been watching my streams, and I've been getting back into doing operations. 2.0 to 3.0, I was almost exclusively doing PvP and GSF. With 3.0, I've been doing streams for operations, and I've had several people quit WoW after buying the expansion in order to come play SWTOR because they like what the operations have to offer. So don't shortchange, the mechanics and the design of the operations, ignoring the fact that, okay, yeah, there's been some bugs and some problems recently. They're still phenomenal. I feel like every operation has always improved. And flat out, the PvP is still great. Even with all the complaints the PvP community might have about it, it's still a great PvP environment in an MMO that desperately needs attention for the PvP.
Yeah, and I don't mean to shill for Tor, and I know that I have complained a lot about the PvP in this game, but I do think that you'll be hard pressed to find in an MMO to find better PvP. Although I don't think it's anywhere near what it should be. It is a lot better than what you find in a lot of other MMOs. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's move on to the this next part of the letter that Bruce McLean said. He said that Shadow of Revan was just the beginning. In 2015, we are committed to bringing you more character-driven adventures in the Old Republic universe. You're going to see a unified story with themes that unite our 8 classes. And then he goes on to say, everyone is a veteran from the Galactic Civil War with a complicated past and uncertain future. You will see a greater emphasis on your character's personal story and on the choices that you make. This thing kind of interested me, what he said there, because from my interpretation of it, because he said you'll have a unified story, but there's going to be greater emphasis on your character's personal story. Kind of seems like a conflict. Like you're saying two different things. You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth there, or at least it sounds that way. I mean, do you guys find that that's Heather? Do you think that's an odd juxtaposition? Do you think that you can have both at the same time?
I don't know. That sounded like they were gonna put class story in there. I don't know. Maybe I just have that.
Well, what is what?
Well, you get to make your own choices. It sounds like what happens with the class stories when you get to control how your stories.
What I'm curious about is the phrase, because personal story is usually used as an indication of like class story is usually the way they've phrased that whenever they talk about that, but they're also talking about a united story that unites the 8 classes. So that's, I mean, I guess,
isn't that what they did in Shadow of Revan?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the question I'm asking here. Are we looking at the same thing that they did in Shadow of Revan, or are we looking at something different than what they?
It sounds like what they did in Shadow of Revan.
It sounds like the same thing. Yeah.
Would you,
Yeah.
Rachel? Would you say that that's a good direction? Do you think people are looking for that, or what are you looking for?
I think it's easy for them to do it that way, but I think what a lot of people want is more. They want their choices to affect the story. You know, they want their character to mean something, kind of thing. So, I don't know. That didn't really happen that much in the Shadow of Revan storyline. So,
you didn't get to choose what happened. It just kind of happened, whether you were dark or light.
Do you feel that now? Do you feel that happened in the regular class story, the 1 to 50 story? Do you feel that there was some definite change in your class that some of your choices actually mattered, or is it, or would choice mattering be something completely new to this game?
I think it depended on the class story. I think like the Imperial Agent story in particular was one where your choice did matter, but for the most part, it didn't really matter that much. I don't think. Remember.
I'm kind of mad about the Imperial Agent because that was the one class that I leveled through neutral, and then I hear all these people like, "Oh my God, did you go dark? Did you go light?" I'm like, "No, I stayed neutral," and so I don't think I got the full effect of the story.
Yeah, I need to play it again. Yeah.
And we got a little thing on Redden's face. Sorry about that. All right. Yes, I think that I don't know. I find it. I find it a bit odd that they're trying to sell both things, and that's really what kind of is a little bit irksome for me, is that it sounds like they're trying to sell both the thing that they had in the 1 to 50 story, and then at the same time they're trying to sell but they're going to give us maybe what they gave us in Shadow of Revan. What are your thoughts on that, Red?
It sounds to me. Essentially, the 1 to 50 storyline is unique for each class. There's very, very little tie-in from class to class. They're all pretty much their own story. And what I'm hoping, and what it sounds like they're going to do, is they might actually be focusing into the class quests are different, but it's still the same story that's driving through the galaxy, so that there is actually a lot of tie-in and crossover. But perhaps going about missions or that storytelling can be slightly different between the classes, which I'd like to see that, a little bit more diversity between classes.
We did see in Shadow of Revan, spoiler alert, this isn't really a spoiler, but anyway, we did see, like, for instance, the endings were slightly different based on, just like the flavor text, if you will, was slightly different between the different classes at the end. We did have our own unique mission in the middle, but that really wasn't a driving force or a driving arc within the Rishi story, which is where that happened. It didn't really change anything at Rishi.
Yeah, the class stories were more wrapping up what was left on.
Yeah, exactly. Is there? What do you have any other final thoughts in regards to what you think they're going to do with the story at all? Any speculation? where things are going to head?
I know they're continuing the cliffhanger. They talked about that at the cantina.
That's true. They are talking about their. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a bit. But I guess the next thing that's on. Oops, wrong one. Quote one. There we go. They also talked about the updates themselves as to like when they're going to happen. They actually said our plan is to deliver 2 major updates with this new story direction later this year. One in the summer and one by the end of the year. And what I'm curious about is really 2 things. Are we looking at an expansion, 2 expansions, or are they just going to be updates? And can they actually get 2 things to that level done? What do you think, Red? Do you think that's within their power, I guess? No.
I don't think these are going to be. I don't think these are going to be expansions in the traditional sense for like a paid expansion or even the free expansions before, frankly. I think it's going to be an expansion of the storytelling. It will expand their story.
Well, in the past in the past they have delivered story in both ways because they finished off the Dreadmaster story in just an update, right? But they delivered McKeb to us in an expansion, which was a little weird. I mean, you think about it, because the Dreadmaster story is a little bit bigger than the McKeb story. But at any rate, and then they did, honestly, Shadow of Revan, it was quite a bit smaller, I think, than McKeb. And they delivered that in an expansion. It was a little bit bigger than, I guess, the Dreadmaster story, but not a whole lot, to be perfectly honest. Do you guys all agree that we're not going to see another expansion here, or do you think we're actually looking at an expansion for at least one of these? What do you think, Heather?
I think they're covering their bases. They're saying 2 updates, so we're just like, okay, well, they didn't say expansion, so when they do come out with an expansion, we'll be like, oh my god, they are amazing. But yeah, 2 updates, whatever. I mean, the Dread Ops, that felt like, that was a lot of content when that came out, but that wasn't an expansion. That wasn't an update. That was an update, you said. So
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's really funny that Dread Ops update lasted us a year. Amazing. Anyway, so did you have any thoughts on that, Rachel?
Not really. It's been covered.
Yeah, I think that I think, well, first off, I mean, it's a good thing that they're doing this. I am personally glad that they're continuing the story, that they're pressing on, making this not just because a lot of MMOs will become stagnant in what's happening within the world. The world becomes extremely stagnant and nothing happens. So I am glad that they're continuing with that story. Tired. Just kidding with you. But I do.
I'll tell you one thing. I would be pretty disappointed if they have a paid expansion before giving serious attention to the rest of the game. Right now, we had a great expansion for PvE with some operations. If they make me pay for more of the same without giving serious attention to PvP, Galactic Starfighter, even the strongholds and conquests, the rest of the game, and they're going to expect me to pay for more, I'm going to be pretty turned off by that.
Yeah.
But remember, before Shadow of Revan, you're like, I'm not going to pre-order this, and then you pre-ordered.
Yeah, and I made a mistake, and I will never pre-order anything again.
Can we quote that?
Yeah, it's on video. It's on video.
It's not gonna happen.
You got it. Well, I think that I don't know. I think we'll probably see one of these as an expansion for sure, because it's just let's assume that they're going to close off the Emperor story. Oops, spoilers. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sure nobody on this panel knows anything. We're totally ignorant. Sorry, but at any rate, I think that's.
No, I do.
But I think that's. If we see the end of the Emperor story, that's going to be an expansion. If that's what happens towards the end of the year. But honestly, though, I hope that it doesn't. I hope that we continue to see this story build a little bit more almost to the point to where it's almost like a third faction to us. But we'll see. I'm not saying third faction. I'm not.
The Revenites.
Right. Gosh, spoilers all over the place. All right.
Well, I mean, never mind. It's called Shadow of Revan. What do people think?
God, it'd be hilarious if people complain about spoilers from that. We're done. By the way, we will give away everything on this show. It's been almost 2 months, or at least a month since the expansion came out. If you're gonna play it, you probably played it by now, and it doesn't take but like what is it even 20 hours to finish Shadow of Revan? If it's that's probably a lot.
20 hours? No, it's 6 hours, dude.
6 hours.
Yeah.
I thought that was during. Oh no, they didn't.
I was considering I was considering the 2 flashpoints that are the prequel to it. Yeah, I guess that.
Yeah, me too. Otherwise, you have to go do dailies in order to finish leveling.
Anyway, all right. So he also goes on to talk about some of the updates 3.1, which is actually on the PTS right now, and then he also and he talks about what's in that. We have a hard mode Blood Hunt coming and a hard mode Battle of Rishi, as well as PvP Season 4. So have you guys? Did you? Any of you run to the PTS and actually try out the hard mode flashpoints? The last time they were up? No, I didn't get a chance to.
It's so hard to get a group with people. I only like working with the guildies, and they're like they'd rather do stuff in game, not on the PTS.
It's hard. You know what? This is probably something we should talk about at some point. Why would people go to PTS, and what are the rewards for doing that? I mean, really, there's no reason to go to PTS. I mean, other than, you get to see the content before anybody else.
People go to the PTS so that they can say, oh, well, I was in the PTS and there was so-and-so bug, but you guys didn't fix it, so I'm better than you. That's why.
That's a legitimate reason.
Oh, yeah.
Or the flip side being they go in and find the exploits and then don't tell anyone.
There you go. Now we know why Red goes to the PTS right there. We caught you.
I didn't even know about it, but yeah.
PvP Season 4. I mean, they just kind of offhandedly mentioned PvP Season 4.
Yeah.
Any idea what?
Yeah, they were really into hearing about what people wanted for the war zones. I heard a lot of Hutball and Capture the Flag and other things that people wanted. People were really excited about PvP, and I really hope the devs saw that.
The irony being that they were all excited about adding more 8 versus 8 content.
That's true. That's true. They were like, so what kind of matches do you want, or what kind of maps do you want? And they were like, Hutball, which is, I wanted to slap everybody in the room for saying Hutball, but they said Hutball.
At that point, they might as well make a Hutball League if they're going to add more maps.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, make it a separate queue or something, but that would be too much work.
That would actually be really, really cool. I would be on board with that. I'm with just
Hutball League ranked.
Yeah, exactly. It's
fun.
You get three maps of Hutball, and you can queue specifically for Hutball. I'm on board with that. That'd be sweet, and have leaderboards just for Hutball. Are you listening, Dev? Eric Musco, we know you're watching right now. Pass that on to the devs. Anyway.
And there's only been people calling for that for 3 years. So.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, finally.
That's going to happen. Let's see. So, and that's February 10th is when 3.1 is scheduled to come out. Obviously, this is all subject to change. Don't mark your calendars. Don't buy your plane tickets yet.
Don't buy your plane tickets.
On April 28th, though, we are looking at update 3.2, and the first thing that they talked about with update 3.2 was the outfit designer. Now, I have a very specific thing that I think this means that is kind of not what most people think it's going to be, but I do want to hear I do want to hear your guys' thoughts first before I say mine. Rachel, what do you think an outfit designer is? If you hear that, if you heard a dev say, "Hey, we got an outfit designer coming," what is that? What would that mean?
Some kind of costume system that allows you to easily change the way you look.
Would you
basically.
say it's like? Yeah. Are you familiar with like the transmog system? I guess from WoW, or there's appearance designers in other MMOs.
I'm familiar with the WildStar one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just like. Would you say it's like what would be like WildStar? That's kind of what most people are thinking. What are you thinking it is, Heather?
Kind of something like that. Yeah.
What do you think it is, Heather?
Well, I mean, it sounds deceiving. Outfit designer, that sounds like you can go in and draw what your robes look like.
Yeah.
Add shoulders or no shoulders, crop top, no crop top. That's what it sounds like, but that's not what it is.
You don't think that's what it? What do you think? What do you think it is?
No, because I asked Musco and he was just he said he could. Okay, am I giving it away now?
No, go ahead.
Okay, well,
no spoilers. We're all about spoilers today. Go ahead.
Well, he couldn't really give that many details, but he said something like it would be a way to change what you look like without having to do so much mod transferring and all that. Basically.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I spoke with who's the Australian?
Ben Irving.
Ben.
Yeah, I was talking to Ben, and that's basically the impression I got, is that this will be a one-click swap your shell that automatically does your armorings mods armorings mods enhancements, hopefully augments and kits as well, but it sounded like it's just going to be a much smoother integrated experience. Now, I don't know if that means that maybe there will be a way for you to maybe pull up a preview window and choose through which items you like, and then just one-click all of the pieces to match the look that you already have in your inventory somewhere. But it doesn't seem like it's much more than just a huge quality of life improvement, and possibly reducing the cost of doing it individually with the one-click system.
Yeah, that's okay. So that is what I honestly think they're going to deliver to us. That is not what I hope they deliver to us, because I really want something a little bit more robust as far as that's concerned, because honestly, it doesn't bother me that it costs, I don't know, 500,000 credits, whatever it is, to transfer all my mods, because I can do that as of right now. And any kind of appearance design, like anything that's like appearance armor, that is, or costume armor or whatever, there's certain, it's called different things in different games. Transmogging is kind of the same thing in World of Warcraft. And I can't, I really don't, that doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't make me happy in any way, because it doesn't cost me very much. I mean, 500,000 credits or something along that line. I'm making a rough estimate. To transfer all my gear and stuff is fine by me. I'm cool with that. What I would like to see is something that is actually an outfit designer. Like, for instance, if I have like the Ravager's outfit, which is kind of like what Darth Mar wears, and I want to do it with the hood down instead of the hood up, I can change it. Or if I don't like the huge spiky shoulders, gone. That's what I'm really hoping it'll be. But that's my hopes. My expectations are down here somewhere. So.
And that's the thing that I'm actually genuinely concerned. Yeah, that's what I'm genuinely concerned about. I think people are getting way too excited. It is not going to be that big. I mean, there will be bells and whistles, because BioWare is really good about giving us extra little bells and whistles. But don't expect it to be more than a quality of life improvement. And if it is, great. But don't expect it. Otherwise, you're just going to be ranting and raving. And granted, I mean, go ahead and expect that, because I know a lot of people are really happy being unhappy. But as for me, I'm not expecting more. And I did ask point blank, will this kill legacy transfer? And he said, absolutely not. This will have no impact on using legacy transfer to, shuttle your gear around from alts and whatnot.
The other thing that they mentioned, which I think I might be the only lore hound on this panel. I don't know, Heather, how are you? Or Rachel, gosh, I keep calling you Heather because Heather's over there, but she's over here on the screen. Anyway, Rachel,
I've only read about 100 of the novels. Does that count?
No, that doesn't count at all. You have to read them all and read the wiki as well. Constantly. I actually have
that's just fun, dude.
I have Wikipedia. I have Wikipedia on my phone. It's great.
Do they have an app?
Yeah, they have an app.
Did you see the one app, the HoloNet, the SWTOR HoloNet app on the iOS? You can go on the forums.
I should pull this up because this is kind of cool.
Yeah. The app or the other app?
No, this is the is it coming up? There it goes. It's really slow because my internet's being really slow, but look, it's got an ad. Huh, excellent. Not as.
Oh, let me show the HoloNet app.
Yeah. Oh, the like Leland Cheese HoloNet. Oh, sweet. Ooh, ah. But all right, so then I guess Red and I are going to have this conversation. Ziost, I pronounce it Ziost. I think
so do I.
Okay, good, because
who doesn't say Ziost?
Tio called it Ziost, didn't he?
Yeah,
okay,
how
does Rachel say
it? He said, "I'm just going to call it Ziost."
See.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm just going to call it Ziost. And then when he was reading it, he says, "Bloody blah Ziost, bloody blah." It's like, there you go, Tio. You got it right.
All right. Because I was afraid it might have been an Australian thing to call it Ziost, and we were going to have to, swim across the pond and deal with that.
No, my guildies kept telling me to say Ziost. I'm like, no, I'm going to say Ziost.
Yeah.
American or Australian?
There's Australians and Kiwis. Yeah.
So Ziost, that's the way I pronounce it. That's the way I'm going to pronounce it. And anyway, is a planned. There's a planned story arc around Ziost, and for those who aren't necessarily familiar with Star Wars lore, especially when in regards to the Old Republic, is that
I know this. It was the Imperial capital, right?
That's right.
The Imperial capital.
Is the Imperial capital?
I learned that last week.
That's right.
Me too.
Yay! But yeah, it's the Imperial capital, and it was actually before and during the hyperspace war, which is what the last war that our empire experienced. There were a couple others in between there that had nothing to do with our empire, but Ziost was the capital, and what was really funny. I mentioned this in something I wrote. One of the things I wrote this week. I wrote like a billion things this week, so I don't remember all of it. But anyway, I mentioned that Eric Musco, when he was part of ToroCast, I was on his show, and I said, and they asked, "So, what planet do you want to see next?" And the first thing out of my mouth was Ziost, because I really wanted to see the capital world. I really wanted to see what was happening with that. And Eric was like, "What? Ziost? What is that?" And he, it was like out of left field for as far as he was concerned. So I'm happy to see this. This is like wish fulfillment for me. So I apologize for gushing here a little bit.
Don't forget, Musco is actually very good at his job in person. He probably knew exactly what you were talking about, but played dumb very well.
No, he wasn't. No, he was in ToroCast. No, he said out of left field. No, I think
That's like 3 years ago.
Yeah, no, he I think he knew what Ziost was. I don't want to, but I think it was just kind of out of left field as far as, because it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't Coruscant or, some other really well-known planet, something like, or Ryloth or something like that. But, yeah, anyway, wish fulfillment. And then on top of that, on April 28th is going to be the end of Season 4 for PvP and the beginning of Season 5. And how many weeks is that? That's almost 3 months, right?
Well, season's supposed to be 2 months, yeah.
2 months. So I guess that's about right. The big thing that I have a question here about is we're now looking at, I think somebody said 12 weeks somewhere are we looking at we're getting further and further apart with our updates? Are you concerned about that?
I'd rather them get it right.
Well, okay, so but they've got it right in less time. That's what I'm saying. In the past, they've got it right in less time. Does that mean that we're now looking at a skeleton team? I mean, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but maybe they're all off working on Shadow Realms.
They started at 6 weeks. It went to 7 weeks. It went to 8 weeks. It went to 9 weeks. It has never stopped getting further and further apart. I don't know why people are surprised by this at all.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Do you? I mean, well, I know not surprised, but I mean, does it? How does it make you? Does it give you concerns, or or is it? This is the way
it
things go.
doesn't really make a difference in my gameplay. I log in, I play with my guildies, and we don't notice. Oh my God, the last update was 3 weeks ago. Like, we don't talk about that. We just go in and play.
But you do notice. Now, this is a question. You do notice though that there hasn't. I mean. You do notice when there hasn't been an.
We notice when there's no new operation.
Exactly.
After a year.
That's what I mean. So, I mean, there's certain people that I guess would notice that. But how about as far as PvP? This is, I mean, by season 5. I mean, do you think we're going to see a change in the way they do PvP? Are they going to actually do 8-man? Are we ever going to see that?
No.
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 What's I don't know. I'm a little. I just gotta say I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that they haven't switched that around. But I guess we are going to talk about that in just a minute because I do want to talk about 2 other things that they said were definitely going to happen. They said that there's going to be a new stronghold and that there's going to be a new playable. They said race. It's new species. There's going to be a new species, Togruta. We already kind of knew about Togruta because that was talked about at the New York Cantina, and because Bruce McLean leaked that. But new stronghold. Rachel, where would you like to see the new stronghold? What planet?
I reckon either Rishi or Alderaan. I really like Rishi. But yeah.
Rishi is nice. I will hand it to you. I like Rishi a lot. I think that actually it lends itself very well. I think to another stronghold. That's a good one. What are your thoughts, Heather? Where are you? What planet? You got to be faster with these answers. Come on.
Well, my instant thought was, well, if they're coming up with Zyos stuff, maybe it's going to be on Zyos. Then I realized, oh my God, I know what Zyos looks like. I don't want to live there. FYI, it's like cold.
Yeah, it's snow. Yeah. Greythorn says Yavin.
That's what I was gonna say. I want a Masasi temple.
A Masasi
flat out.
Gosh, that'd
be cool, yeah.
You know, the role player in me just cried and died on the inside whenever you said Yavin and you want a Masasi temple, because that's just horrible. That would be a horrible stronghold.
It would be great.
And
it has some forest spirits roaming around inside my little.
Have some ghosts just randomly popping out of the wall. Hey, how's it going? Just having dinner. We're okay here. It's right.
I think Rishi would be excellent though, just because they could make it look all piratey and cool like that. The other places, it's just kind of plain. I don't know what they would put in there. That would make Rishi feel like it was different.
What's that?
You could have your own island on Rishi, like just have your own private island. I think that'd be cool.
Sold.
Yeah.
I am on board with that. Make it Rishi. I don't care if you're working on Alderaan right now. Stop what you're doing. Make it Rishi. Because private island.
Tropical island.
That's right.
Yeah. Like when you finish Ravagers, that last location.
Just maybe bigger, but that would be sweet.
Yeah, of course.
A lot bigger, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever you're doing, BioWare, if you're working on, I don't know, whatever planet you're working on, start working on Rishi, because that sounds pretty awesome. I'm on board with that one. All right, so let's talk about the things that they didn't mention in the producer's letter, and we're gonna kind of sandwich this, maybe a little bit with we have a little bit of positive at the beginning, and then we've got this negative thing in the middle, and hopefully we end a little bit on a positive note. So Let's
I'm just trying to sneak it in.
Yeah.
Hide it.
So yeah, they didn't talk about PvP at all. They didn't talk about ground PvP. They talked. They said the seasons. That's about it. Which were kind of like, seasons. All right. They didn't talk about the lack of ranked 8-man. They didn't talk about Galactic Starfighter. They didn't talk about I mean, it's just they didn't talk about chat bubbles. I mean, because we've all been waiting for chat bubbles.
You have.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Red? Are you disappointed not to hear about PvP?
Par for the course, as far as I'm concerned. I wasn't surprised. I mean, of course I'm disappointed, but I've been disappointed for months. I'm kind of living with it. Every single developer I asked about GSF, not a single one of them knew of anybody working on GSF in any way, shape, or form other than a maintenance crew. So that, I think, is actually the most untouched aspect of this game, and don't expect anything for months to come.
What are you talking about? It's clearly not the most untouched. The most untouched is the rail shooter that nobody ever plays.
Well, true. Well, no, that got touched because it was affecting Bolster, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. But, I mean, Rachel, you just kind of at the point to where you're like, not talking about PvP is just, what we expect? Or were you kind of expecting to hear something in the next couple patches about PvP?
I kind of hoped that we would hear something soon, but I'm losing hope now. Because weren't they like working on? Weren't they asked the community last year for some ideas, and then we haven't really heard anything since. So for new Warzone, so yeah, I don't know what happened there.
They have.
Well, I think
Go ahead.
the dev team, there's things that they want to do, but they have to figure out if they're not working on this, then it's because they're working on this. So they're working on PvE stuff probably.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's what they were working on this whole time.
Because I mean the focus has been, and this is kind of this is a little bit disappointing to anybody that does any kind of group content, but it seems to be a little bit easier to include the PvE content than it is to include PvP content. But they are focused really, really hard, and you could tell by the beginning of this letter that they're really focused hard on story. And I mean, I believe that you can mix PvP with story. I mean, they did a really good job, I think, with up into like Denova was even really good. It was a good mix because it came out the same time as Explosive Conflict, which was on Denova, which carried over the story, and then now you're seeing like the PvP side of what Denova was like, and so it does kind of tie in. And I think this, and part, however, that being said, I do think that part of the reason why PvP is kind of difficult in fitting in with the story idea is because there's so much unity between the Empire and the Republic. There's nothing for them to fight over, and so therefore story is kind of missing, and PvP seems to be what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of just shoehorned in, I guess, is the best way to put it. It's like, it doesn't really make sense for the story, but you know what? We'll just throw these guys together and have them fight each other. Where your thoughts?
Does it make sense for the story that we're in a galactic war, Empire versus Republic?
Well, I mean, the continuing story is what I mean. Like right now on Yavin, we're united. Spoiler alert, chat room. we unite on Yavin, and we're not fighting on Yavin. We're working together on Yavin, and it doesn't. I mean,
technically, triple spoiler alert. The story itself actually makes a case that the higher up are having a peace pact, and yet through that story you find out that the lower down, us, the grunts, the footmen, and everything, they are having a lot of trouble with that peace pact, and there are skirmishes fighting out and everything. It actually explains why there's open world PvP on Yavin for those servers that manage it.
Heather's on the Dark Council,
that
though.
Storyline. Okay, you're on the Dark Council. You're still a plebe. But no, at the very, very, very end of the story, they say, "All right, this peace pact is over."
Yeah, but actually, you do have a point there. That could easily be a reason to have PvP on Yavin, even as far as the story is concerned. It's like, peace pact is over, everybody fight. Just like whoever you're standing next to. That would be really sweet. You spawn in a random.
You know what they need?
Go ahead.
They need a freaking like King of the Hill type thing, and the thing at the top of the hill is all that gear that Revan's corpse left behind.
Yes, I'm on board with that.
His purple lightsaber.
You want his purple lightsaber? He does it. Yeah. Or even his like tore up gear is pretty cool.
No. I want his mask. That thing goes for a lot on the GTM.
So, all right. Anything else that was missed in the producer letter that really kind of stands out to you? Besides PvP? God, poor PvPers.
Like it says they didn't talk about their better than cross server thing. They like
that.
Yeah. I don't even want to bother
actually,
asking them anymore.
Purcell in the chat room, aka Spencer, who's known in the community and has been a guest on UtiniCast, actually did ask them about that, and they told him flat out, don't expect it soon. They wanted people to know that they had ideas and that they were working on it, but they are not near releasing it. So later TM, not soon TM.
Never TM.
Never TM.
Oh, that's so sad.
That's horrible. God, I really hope.
Just report it.
I know. I really hope that there's some leeway that maybe some breakthrough will happen and then it will come sooner. But that's really disappointing because one of the things that's plaguing PvP is the fact that there's no cross server. There's no way. I mean, there's certain servers out there that are really low population and cannot PvP. It takes forever to get a group together. So I mean, we're almost experiencing the same thing we experienced before when all the servers merged together. In certain cases, I know. I mean, I don't see that as much on my server, and I know like is it Jedi Covenant, and I know Bastion doesn't have an issue with it. Does Harbinger have an issue with PvP queues at all?
No, it's pretty fast usually.
Yeah. So I
think for the U.S. it's Pot 5, Bastion, and Harbinger are healthy, and well, as healthy as the state of PvP is, and
right.
The others are struggling.
I hope we see something sooner than later. TM. Can we trademark that one?
Well, you know what I would really like, I don't know, actually, Rachel, you might have done a blog post on this, but I'd love somebody to actually articulate taking cross-server off the table. What would be a solution, any solution, just ideas? We've gotten nothing from BioWare. How would they address the severe deficiencies in ranked PvP and implement something that would be motivational and good and healthy for the PvP community that would inspire them to come back out in numbers and feel like it's an improved experience?
I don't know. Maybe something simple like addressing class balance. That's something I know people say to me, have said to me a few times, is they don't do ranked because their class isn't considered, flavor of the month or whatever. Otherwise, maybe change the ranking system because it's not that good. I don't know. They have the rewards you get, but that's still not enough. I don't even bother trying to get tier 1. I always just go for tier 2 usually because that's pretty easy. That's just me though. Yeah. I don't know though.
Yeah, and I can't think of anything else that they really missed. I mean, it's I feel for you. I feel for PvPers, the ones that are dedicated to PvP. I really do, and because I just don't think this game handles it very well. However, that being said, out of all the MMOs that are out there, it is one of the better ones. When you're talking strictly MMOs. It is. So,
well, I guess that's my call and plea to the community at large is I'd just like to see somebody put up a full articulated every idea you can think of to improve PvP, and don't just put up a bullet point, give me cross server. Like,
yeah.
reasons why, what it is, and fine if it's cross server and you can't think of anything else, really explain, even with the implementation of cross server, how to make sure that that is effective and addresses latency issues for people in Europe versus people in the East Coast versus people in Australia. You know, like I would like to see people that are very knowledgeable and technically minded. Somebody just put that whole blog post together with all the ideas you can come across, because that is a post that I would like to reference constantly. I don't have a single location where I can just say, here, link, here's the ideas. Let's talk about this.
Good. That's good.
All right, Rachel can do that.
There you go, Rachel.
Yeah,
there you go. All right, lastly, Musco finally addressed, Musco and the community team and whoever else is involved with that. I'm sure, like, customer service and some of the other higher devs were also involved in it as well. They finally.
We haven't even talked about Courtney taking the wheel.
Is that no? Here's the thing. I didn't want to bring that up because I wasn't sure if is that a temporary
That's a
thing?
happy thing. Should we?
No. Yeah. Actually, let's close with that. We'll talk about that. All right, we'll close. We'll close with that one. That way we end on a happy note. All right, go back to Musco. We're talking about Musco. This is not some happy note. We're talking about Musco, right? I'm kidding, Musco. I'm kidding. No. He did a post finally addressing the what's happening with the exploit that we talked about the last couple of weeks with the Ravagers, and he says, as we talked about in the previous post, we need to finalize our data and ensure that we were ready to move and appropriate actions for those who abuse the Ravager exploit. Since we have been a bit more open in our process regarding this particular exploit, we thought it would be best to bring full circle and tell you specifically what we are doing to those players. As of this post, our actions against those players have begun. Here's the type of actions we are taking based on the severity of the exploits. And I actually have them listed here so you guys can see them. Oops. Let's try that again. There we go. There they are. They received a warning, possibly a warning with anywhere between 1 and 7 days of game suspension time. And a caveat to that: anyone who received an in-game suspension will also lose their forum privileges for the same period of time. And number 2, our most egregious, that's what the word he used, offenders will have received a suspension up to a permanent suspension. And I have to ask, do we believe that anybody actually got a permanent suspension? Do you?
I don't know.
Come on, Red, you have an opinion. No, I knew.
Permanent ban. That's crazy.
I don't know.
You know what I think? It's possible. Now, I'm not saying that this is what they did, but the most severe case that I can think of is the people that transferred their characters just to transfer this exploit. Spoiler alert: that's how they transferred the exploit.
I'll give my interpretation, and I have nothing left to say.
Okay.
This is an excellent post. It gives some great guidelines. It lets them know the authority, or lets the community know the authority that they will wield at some point in the future. I don't think that will happen this time. I think this time they're demonstrating that they are able to detect that people have done these things and dish out emails in particular, but also I think very slight punishments so that next time they can ramp it up and punish more firmly, because quite frankly they've never done anything like this before, and their complete negligence in doing anything about it for a month is partially on their own heads. And I think they feel that. I don't, and I understand that some people feel that they should do more now in order to make it clear, and so that, it'll be more intimidating for people in the future. But I don't see that happening. And frankly, they've put the line in the sand. They've given us a great rubric to base this off of in the future so that you can think about it. And if you choose to violate exploits in the future, that's your choice. And we'll see if they improve the strength of it. But at least now the entire community has one post that they can point to that this is the line that they've drawn in the stand, and everybody else can just make the decision whether or not it's worth it to them. And, BioWare does what BioWare does, and it's their decision to do it that way, whether or not I agree with it or anybody else does.
Rachel, we didn't talk to you about this before, but just really quickly, how do you feel about this post? Do you think it was appropriate? Do you think this is an appropriate amount of punishment? What are your thoughts on it in general?
I don't really know, because I've been looking at Reddit, and it sounds like the punishments that they brought out weren't consistent, and that they're still rolling it out, so I don't really, I'm not 100% convinced this was, the best way, but yeah, like Red said, it's their decision in the end.
What are you thinking, Heather? What are your thoughts?
I agree with Redna in that they took a stance, which is good, and now we know what to expect from them in the future. So now it's, people can't give the excuse, well, they haven't said anything about it, blah, blah, blah. This is it. Now we know what to expect, what to do if there's some kind of exploit in game, and, don't do it because it's going to stack up against you.
Before I read this last part, I do want to mention something that was mentioned in our chat room just now, is that Darth Brundlefly says that he's seen people bragging that they were slapped on the wrist, but the benefits they got by doing the exploit outweighed the punishment, and they would do it again. You agree with that?
I
Rachel?
think that's a very scary way to think, because if they have banned you and it's on your record, then in the future if you do it again, that's not a good thing.
What do you think? What are you thinking, Rachel? You were saying something, Rachel.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing I saw on Reddit a lot, was people saying I'd totally do it again. Like, they don't see the punishment isn't deterring people from exploiting again. So
that's not logical, though. It's like it's a mark on your record. If they see that you're doing it again, then your punishment's going to be worse next time. So that's just a bit stupid, I think. Sorry if there's someone in the chat room that disagrees that I just call them stupid. But
go ahead, Red. What were you saying?
That's assumption and supposition on Heather's part, and on Rachel's part. I totally respect that. That's what a lot of people are saying. And I'm not at all surprised by it. These are the same people that did it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
There's actual logic behind saying I'll do it again if this is the worst that BioWare will do. Because you do... it was actually Bill, who's known as a big economist, right? You do an economic view of it, and you do the cost analysis. Is it worth me getting a massive perk and a massive bonus, and then giving up a week of gameplay? If it is, do it.
Yeah.
That's just raw logic. It's not ethical. It's not moral, but that is pure logic. Yeah. The flip side being what I would actually hope is, now that they have made it clear that they are, they can do this up to a certain point, then fine. The next time, people can do it. They think it doesn't matter. They've done their little analysis and decided it's worth it, and then they get permanent banned. They can't complain about it because they have now been warned.
Yeah, this kind of leads into what Musco said next. He said, let me scroll down here a little bit, and he said, we didn't take these actions lightly and reviewed every account to determine whether we could be lenient, which is, I think, a little bit odd, but okay. From our end, this was a no-win situation. And then he goes on and he says, we feel responsible for allowing the exploit to occur and remain in the game for an unreasonable length of time, but we also cannot and will not condone cheating. I think that, honestly, I think that kind of explains it right there, what their frame of mind is and why maybe the exploits were a little softer, or excuse me, the punishments were a little bit softer than they should have been, or they might have been under, let's say, quote unquote, normal circumstances. But then at the same time, though, this is the first time that we have heard in the history of the game, 3 years, that any big exploit has had any kind of ramifications at all, and what they did is just really kind of minor. Is really kind of like in like some people have said, kind of a slap on the wrist. Now, if some people did get permanently banned or suspended, whatever you want to call it, then okay, all right. Maybe it was a little bit harsher. Maybe it was appropriately harsh. But if we're getting reports that it's not, then maybe they should have done something bigger. I don't know. Any final thoughts on this? Rachel, got any final thoughts on?
I kind of like have this thinking that maybe, hopefully, this will be, the people that exploit this time will have it on their record permanently, and then the next time they exploit again, they'll have a more severe punishment next time. I'm kind of hoping that they could do that, but yeah.
Yeah. Heather? Any final
I
thoughts?
agree exactly with what she said.
Excellent. One final thing I want to mention, since Heather mentioned it earlier, is the I guess fan sites have a new community representative for them. That is Courtney Woods. She's been working with BioWare for ever. I'm trying to remember when she wasn't working with BioWare, but at any rate, she's been with them for a while, and she's really good at what she does. She's really we met her at the cantina, and I'm happy to have her working with the fan sites. And also, Tate is working with guilds, so they've separated that. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've separated that. The guilds. Tate has the guilds now, and Courtney has the fan sites. So that extremely positive. We've already had a lot of. I've had a couple of emails myself from them, and which is quite a bit more than we've seen in a while. So I'm really happy about that. What do you guys think? I know you guys. I know Red and Heather like Courtney, because who doesn't like Courtney that's actually met her. Any final thoughts on that? I like
Courtney too.
Have you met Courtney? Have you talked to her?
She's responded to my messages, but yeah. That's
okay.
That's the only communication.
Yeah, she is the. I don't know. She's full of energy all the time. It's great. So.
Previously my interactions with Courtney were purely via Twitter, honestly.
Yeah.
And she was tremendously supportive when I was doing the Extra Life Foundation, 24-hour stream, and was kind enough to retweet my stream information. She's obviously got thousands more followers on Twitter than I do. I've always respected her, even when it was Amber and Courtney. They were a good team. And now, since she's kind of taken over that community interaction, I've gone from silence and zero interaction with the community team in an official capacity to daily, if I need to, emails. She's been tremendously responsive. Even Musko's been responding. Tate's always been great. I know he's the bug guy, so I've always tweeted him. He's always been really good. Since the new year, night and day, they seem to be genuinely excited about really stepping up their game and communicating with us. And there was also a post somewhere, I think, about them trying to incorporate their Twitch stream with live streamers as well.
That's right.
From the community.
From the community. So look out for that. She actually said, if you are a streamer, let her know. She did leave an address. Unfortunately, I don't have that. I think there's a post I think it's in the forum.
Fan sites. Fan sites at SWTOR.com is what they're supposed to email.
There you go.
And the best part is it's not a black hole anymore. No joke. If you have anything, you want to raise anything to them, they are being really responsive and incredible. I mean, going to the community cantina, I would recommend it to anybody and everybody, because flat out, faces to names and remembering that these people are human. But after having done that, before and after the community cantina, the interactions that I've been having with the team, they are really changing their game. They're actually finally acting on the promises that they've been making last year. Now it seems like they're actually going to be doing something about it. So I'm very, very excited about the coming year. Yes. When it comes to interaction with BioWare itself.
And on that positive note, we'll leave it right there. You can catch Redna on Twitter. Oops, I'm losing music. There we go. You can catch Redna on Twitter at R3DN4. You can also catch him every week on UtiniCast at utinicast.com and catch his Twitch stream. He gives stuff away on that. You can go to twitch.tv/R3.
I never win.
I know, right? R3DN4. And you can also catch Heather on Twitter at Heather_PLS. She is also on Curly and Run Radio, or at curlyandrun.com. And you can catch her blog on PrettyLittleSith.com. And Rachel, for more of Rachel's work, you can catch her on Twitter as well. She's very active on Twitter at Rach_games, and also go to her website, which is Zamzam, which is xamxam says.wordpress.com. Thanks a lot for being on the show today. Really appreciate that. And
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. And if you want to catch more of my things, you can catch me on Twitter at Shadow, SHADDOE. You can also go to Massively, and I write the Hyperspace Beacon over there. You can also go to hyperspacebeacon.com to catch my blog, and also I write every single day on Gamebreaker TV. And we are here on the Republic every Thursday at 6:30 PST. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.